Today, we're gonna finish off this G80 M3 competition so that we can get this car to the panel shop. What have we accomplished so far? This G80 M3 competition is actually still brand new. With only 2,700 kilometers on the clock, I quickly jumped into fixing this car, stripping down and fixing the front suspension. I also had to spend quite a bit of time on the electronics to get this car to fire up. And once that was done, I stripped down the whole front end, compiled a list of all the damaged components, and I went ahead and ordered the parts. And as the parts arrived, I fixed the whole front end, getting this car mobile and taking it for its first ever proper test drive. But that wasn't all. This car needed a lot of attention on the interior, so I stripped down the interior completely and I ran into a nasty surprise in this interior. And in today's video, we're gonna work off a list that I've compiled of all the things we need to finish off on this car so that this G80 M3 competition can be restored to its former glory and we can get this car to the panel shop. And whilst the BMW M3 competition is at the panel shop, we can finally finish off my S65 to get it ready for the head-to-head battle. What head-to-head battle? The head-to-head battle against my BMW M6 that I've also rebuilt. And then we can finally decide who is the best. Is it the boys from Munich or the boys from Stuttgart? So, without further ado, let's get that M3 back into the workshop. Let's get the car assembled and let's get this over with. This list is hopefully going to help us to get everything sorted as quickly as possible because I'm tired of an S65 looking at me all hopeless and just screaming for my attention. So, first thing on the list, windscreen remove. So I've got my windscreen, guys, on the windscreen, getting it out the car because it's cracked. We're gonna have to replace it. And with the windscreen out, it's gonna give me access to remove this dashboard. And just like that, the windscreen is out. Next up, my favorite, wiring repairs. So we've got 3 wiring repairs to do. We've got the one here on the front, this big harness that runs up all the way over here. Then we've got this one over here. It's also got some damage to it that we need to repair. And then we need to sort out this Pyrofuse. Here's the new harness for the front, and unfortunately it comes like this. So we're gonna have to do some wiring, and this big box, I don't know why the box is so big, but this is for our Pyrofuse. Those of you that's been following this channel know that I've been bombarded with wiring repairs. Looks like we're at it again. First up, we're going to replace the Pyrofuse, and in order for us to do that, we're gonna have to strip out the boot. And there we've got the Pyrofuse unit exposed, and now we can get this thing out. It's very important to disconnect the battery when doing wiring repairs because we don't want to cause further damage. Then we need to disconnect all connections so that we can pull this Pyrofuse unit out as one complete thing. And just like that, our Pyrofuse unit is out, so it's out for the old and in with the new. I'm carefully locating every connection back where it's supposed to be, getting this thing to look factory, and then torquing up the connection points to 15 Newton meters. We don't want to over tighten them. And there we have our brand new Pyrofuse unit fitted. And now we can reassemble all the boot room so that we can crack on with the next wiring repair. Side panel goes in first. Then the kicker panel, I don't know what you call this thing. Get the rubber back in its place. Get the base cover in, and we're done. Okay, let's get this wiring harness sorted. So this should be a simple repair. Just looks like we've got a couple of wires that broke off. And then I'm just going to have to remove this tape to inspect all the wires. But this is what it looks like when it comes from the factory. I mean, come on. This isn't great. I'm sure BMW can make better wiring harnesses than this. And then this pipe is for the washer fluid system, so we're going to have to sort that out as well before we tape this up. So this is also on our list to do. So looks like we're going to sort out two things at once. I'm starting off by removing the damaged isolation on the wires so that we can expose them and see what is the extent of the damage on these wires. And once everything was removed, I went ahead, I cut the damaged sections out, and now I'm adding new sections into the wiring harness, getting it back to the length it was, and also making sure that I'm using the correct color of wire just for future references, just in case someone needs to do some diagnosing on these wires. Hopefully that's not going to be me. So got the wires repaired. Now we can just do a strength test. I'm happy with that. Now we can just tape it up nicely, and then we're done. And then we can move over to the big wiring harness. I'm carefully taping up these wires, but before we move over to the big wiring harness, I think while we're at it, let's finish off this area and let's get the washer system sorted as well. All sorted. So this is the way BMW does their wires. And this is my wires. I think that looks way better. Let's sort out the washer jet system's water supply pipe that got crushed. So I'm carefully measuring out the pipe, making sure that my extension piece that I'm putting in here is going to be at the correct length. And once that's done, I'm cutting off the section that I'm going to use. And my plan to make this work is to use a heat gun, heat up the rubber pipe so that it softens, and then I will squeeze it over the old connections, making sure that once it cools down, it will seal on there and it will never leak. I've used this method many times before and it has never failed me. And we get to save a bit of bucks because this pipe was just lying around. I mean, why not use it? And what we did on the one end, we're now gonna have to do on the other end by the car so that we can get this pipe connected, get it over and done with, and crack on with the rest of the wiring repairs. Better than factory, man. I'm telling you, this is better than factory. So what I'll do is, we'll just take a piece of tape and then just tie it around the wiring harness the way it was, number one, and number two, just to keep it nice and steady on the joint. There we go. Perfect. Sorted. Now the pump can just clip back in. And there we have it. Washer fluid system Water supply sorted. See, this thing can't even twist anymore. This thing is solid, solid, solid. Let's get the bottle and get the bottle on here. Final thing for the washer system is just to get this pipe, the filler pipe, connected, and then we just need to make sure that it doesn't leak, because if it leaks we should sort it out now, because once this car is assembled I'm gonna have to take a lot of things apart to get to this bottle. I'm just using normal tap water for now, just to make sure that it doesn't leak, because this bottle is probably going to have to come out again when it comes to adjusting the fender. Once the fender is sprayed on the car, getting it adjusted, the bottle's going to have to come out anyways. With the washer system out the way, now we can finally finish off the wiring repairs. Now I've got a couple of options with this wiring harness. So the damage happened in this area over here, and this is the whole wiring harness. There we've got this rubber piece, and then we've got these two clips, and then it runs right down to all those wires that we're going to have to join. Now this is a lot of wires. This can take a couple of hours. Now if I look at, there's the rubber, there's the one, and right over there is the other one, which means, let me just get this bonnet hinge out the way. We're going to have to make that joint, all those joints, right over there in the bottom. I mean, there's no space. I can't even get my hand in here. So that's option number one. Option number two is I can expose all these wires, take the tape off, see where the damage is, and then start cutting and joining them all in here. This wire is squashed right over there. This thick black wire is damaged as well over there, and then here and there's some damages on these wires. So I'm going to take all this tape off now. I know I know we need to replace this section, but I want to look at this. I want to make sure there's no damage in here, and then expose these wires, see where the damage is, and then basically just replace the wires that's damaged. I think that's going to be a lot easier. It's going to save us time, and then we can crack on with the rest of the stuff. So let's get the tape off so that we can reveal these wires and see to what extent are we going to have to perform this repair. I don't think it's going to be hard. It's just going to take quite a bit of time. But don't worry, we'll run through this quickly so we can crack on with the rest. With these wires stripped, the only damage that I could find was, apart from this is obvious, is just the headlight plug itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this, cut it right off over there, and then on our new wiring harness, that's the section that we're going to use, and we just cut it off over there, and then we're going to have to remove this headlight plug as well. I'm just going to have to open this wiring harness to get more meat, because this section that's sticking out over here is too little. So altogether it's 32 wires that I need to join. So let's start cutting and let's start joining. Once these wires are cut, there's no turning back. Now one would think that this is a simple, pretty straightforward job. Just join the wires, blue to blue, red to red. Yeah, it is, but there's a black wire and there's another black wire. There's two green wires. There's duplicates in this wiring harness. So this is not a straightforward job. I'm going to have to spend a bit of time on this wiring harness, and I must make sure that I connect the correct black wire to the correct black wire. Otherwise, if I flip 2 wires, we're going to sit with fault codes and components that's probably not going to work. When you switch on the wipers, the car's going to indicate, so this is going to be fun. And just to speed things up, I've created all my little heat shrink pieces. I've cleaned off all the wires, so now we are ready to connect them one by one. It's cutting the wires, cleaning the wires, locating the wires, and then soldering the correct wire to the correct wire. And once that's done, we can slide on our new heat shrink, melt it onto the wire, and I guess that's one down, and we've got 31 more wires to go. So let's get this over with. I started off by joining all the single color wires just to get them out the way, and once that's done, I took my multimeter to check which wire should go where, and then I made sure I joined the correct black wire with the correct black wire. There was 8 duplicates in this wiring harness, color-wise, and I had to make 110% sure that I correctly connect these wires. And just like that, all the wires were done. So then I just carefully taped them up nicely to protect them from the outside elements. And once the big section of the wiring harness was done, I just had to do exactly the same thing on the plug for the headlight. And I guess we can say our wiring is officially complete. What wiring harness? I don't know what you're talking about. Doesn't look to me like anybody worked over here. Stuff still looks factory, man. Next up, we're gonna clean the doors. Now just look at all this glass in this door. One thing is sure, if we're gonna leave this glass, they will rattle. And don't think you just stick the vacuum cleaner in there and boom, all the glass is out. Oh no. I had to wiggle this door. I had to move it upside down. I had to do all kinds of things just to make sure that I get all the glass out of the door. Because, I mean, who wants a rattle from a door? Something small, but it's very annoying. And once the front door was done, it was basically just a repeat on the rear door. Getting it open and getting the vacuum cleaner in there so that we could get all the glass out. And this door was not as easy to clean as the front door, but nothing serious. Just making sure that we're not going to have any rattles on the road. With a bit of help from a pick, I could scoop all the glass into the intake of the vacuum cleaner to get the glass out. And with the doors cleaned, I could go ahead and put the front door back onto the car, because we're definitely going to need the door on the car so that we can align the body panels. And there we have our door fitted. That was quick and easy. Now, let's quickly set records. Let's get the dashboard out. Let's go. I've got a timer right over there. Set to 1 hour. So I'm going to push myself and check and see if I can get this dashboard out in 1 hour. Now, I think I can do it in half an hour, 30 minutes. I can get this dashboard out. And by the way, I've never removed a dashboard like this. It's going to be my first time removing a dashboard like this. It's time to start the clock. Woo, let's go. To remove a dashboard is a bit of a tedious job because you need to make sure that you don't break any clips. And I had to cut this airbag out of my way because it's just annoying hanging over here. Then the steering wheel is also going to have to go because the dashboard is actually molded around the steering column. Then the center console also had to go just to give us some access on the screws in the middle. Maybe I'm just a bit cocky or a bit overconfident in removing this dashboard in 30 minutes. Looking at the time, I've spent a lot of time and it doesn't look like I have achieved much, but just wait, we'll get there. Now with the dashboard stripped to this extent, I can clearly see all the screws that I have to remove to get this thing to slide out. There's a lot of plug connections, so I have to be careful not damaging wires or plugs when I pull this dashboard out. But looking at that clock, overconfident, I would say. But we've got the dashboard moving, so we're almost there. Got 19, 17 more seconds. Come on, come on. Let's get this thing out. What plug is messing with me over here? Come on. Come on. 2, 1. Ah, just missed it. Ah, come on, man. So all these SRS plugs on the side. Damn it. Well, we're almost there. We're almost there. Almost there. One more plug. There we go. And there we've got the dashboard removed. Luckily, we're not going any further than this. This is where we're ending. We are only replacing the dashboard skin. And then just look at our time. We missed 30 minutes with 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So it took us 32 minutes and 35 seconds to remove this dashboard. Still not too shabby, eh, Nige? Now it's home stretch. Let's get these body panels on so we can finish off this car. Now, the next thing we need to do is we need to turn this car back into a car because it's looking like a piece of rubbish at the moment. So, there's our old front end parts. There's some of the components on here that we're going to use, like this. We're going to reuse that. We're going to reuse that corner piece over there. We're going to reuse everything in the back of the bumper over here. We've got our radar sensor and the bumper insert. There's some new components. We need to get those new bonnet hinges on the car. That's the bumper insert for the driver's side, the one that got destroyed. New grille. There's some other bits and bobs over here. There's our new fender. There's our M3 Competition badge that needs to go into that fender. There's our new bonnet, front bumper, brand new headlight. Well, everything is brand new. And then there's our control unit for the headlight. Zaga! And this thing, we're going to have to program that. So what we're going to do now is let's start stripping this thing, get all the stuff that we can use, get it off there, throw the rest away, and then we're going to assemble the front bumper, get some of those bits and bobs on the car, get the fender on the car, get the bonnet on the car, and hopefully it looks like an M3 Competition again. So let's go. And while stripping this bumper, I came across a name, a country in this bumper that most of you guys will be surprised to see it on this car. But wait, let me just finish off stripping this bumper, getting all the pieces off that we're going to reuse, and then I'll show you guys what I saw in this bumper. And there we have all the components removed from the front bumper except for the BMW logo. So let's pop it out and then I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. You know, we all like these German cars because it's German build quality. Now let me show you something on these German build quality cars. Made in China. Have to have a little bit of China on there. I've seen the China logo on many German cars before. Nothing new, nothing new. Now we have all our components ready to go onto this front bumper to make this front bumper skin a complete front bumper so that we can get it onto the car. And as I was assembling this front bumper, I wasn't clipping everything in 100%, making sure that when this car goes to the panel shop, they're not going to have a hard time to disassemble everything so they can get it sprayed, to avoid them from breaking any clips, because when this car is done, it's gonna look factory. And just like that, we've got our front bumper complete. And I must say, I wouldn't mind this G80 M3 Competition to be in this kind of color. There's just a few small items we need to replace before we start putting the body panels onto the car. That's our bonnet hinges. And here we can clearly see, with the old hinges next to the new hinges, we can clearly see how bent they are. Good thing we're replacing them. And whilst fitting the new bonnet hinges to the car, I used the paint line to help me line up the new bonnet hinges. Our new bonnet hinges are on the car, and next up we're going to have to fit the headlight bracket so that we can get the new headlight on this car. And again, fitting the headlight bracket, I just used the paint lines to line it up just to make sure that it is back the way it was before, just to help us align things. Before we put the light on, we're going to have to get the new control unit fitted to the headlight, and then we can put the headlight onto the car. And with the headlight on the car, I think it's time for us to get a closer view from the front. So let me get this car out of this tight spot so we can get a clear view of the front end. And just as I expected, only the one light's working. I ran a diagnostic and it's complaining about the programming on this light, so we're gonna have to program, unfortunately, we're gonna have to program that light. So let's start assembling this body so we can finish off this car. I've already booked the tow truck for tomorrow morning, so they're coming to collect the car if it's finished or not, so I need to get this thing assembled so we can get it to the panel shop. There's still a few items on this old bonnet that we're gonna have to reuse, so let's quickly get them off so we can fit them to our new bonnet. Most importantly is just the hinges. First component to go onto the car is the new wing. And this should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time getting these body panels aligned as good as possible, just to make sure that when this car goes to the panel shop, I know that they're not going to come back to me and say, but this is skew or that is skew, just so that we can see this body is straight. Wing is on. So what I used as a guideline is I lined this tip up with that line on the headlight, because I was using this side as a reference. There you can see it's lining up perfectly. There's quite a big gap over here. So we've also got quite a big gap over here, but I'm happy with that. Then this gap over here is also quite big. Now it doesn't look right at all. If you open the door, you'll see that it starts close to the body and then it moves away. Now, it's supposed to be like that, Because if we check on this side, same thing. Starts close to the body and then it moves away. So I'm happy with that. Now with the new fender on here, we can clearly see what's up with this door. Check that massive gap at the bottom. There's the tire marks. I can feel an indent in the door over here. But this whole, if you follow the line from here, it's nice and straight. And then it starts moving in. It's moving in, it's moving in, it's moving in, it's moving in quite deeply. So this thing is not lining up. So this door, the whole door needs to come out a bit, number one. And then this corner needs to be fixed over here. This tip needs to line up with that. I've used this as a guideline. I'm happy with that line over there. The rest of the stuff's all lining up. So the only issue we've got at the moment is the door. But that's not my problem. That's the panel shop's problem. With the fender in its new home, we can now go ahead and get the bonnet onto the car. And fitting new body panels to a car, I must be honest, not that fun. I would rather rebuild an engine. And if you're going to ask me to do wiring, I might think twice and go for the wiring option instead of having to fit body panels. Bonnet's on. I'm happy with the gaps. It's lining up nicely over here. Same story this side. And I'm happy with these lines. I hate adjusting the bonnet. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's the final piece of the puzzle. Getting the front bumper on. And then, oh yes, then this car is complete. My work is done. I can get it out of my life and I can crack on with the Mercedes Benz S65 V12 bi-turbo 463 kilowatt monster with 1,000 Newton meters of torque. I hope that BMW M6 is ready for what's coming its way. Finally, the bodywork is complete. Now let's see what this car looks like. And just like that, we've got the M3 Competition ready to go to the panel shop. Now we can finally crack on with the S65. And if you like this type of content and you want to see this car finished off, then hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one, because now I need to crack on with the S65. Cheers.